Hello everyone, it is I, the Fable of Fables, your new best friend. How you guys doing? Good, I hope. Today is a special day. I'm doing two videos today. Sorry about how the way I ended the last video. I'm gonna be honest, my sister came in and started talking to me about stuff and I didn't wanna do some editing, so I just had to end the video. Basically, if you guys want to help support me, make sure to I have a Ko-Fi link. I kind of want to try to save up some money for my birthday to buy some stuff I need. If you guys want to help, link to my Ko-Fi will be in the description or at the top of the screen. You'll be able to see the donate at Ko-Fi /FableKittyArts. If you guys want to help, that is, or if you want me to draw you something in return, please let me know. I'd be more than happy to. You don't have to help. I'm trying my best to save up as much as I can. I had some money, but I had to help my family buy some groceries. So yeah, if you guys want to help, that's great. If not, I understand. Anyway, we're reacting to Oblivion Water Horrors. This is kind of another one. I think it's by the same people that made the Skyrim horrors. But yeah, let's go. I like Oblivion. Oblivion is a really cool game. It was one of my first Elder Scrolls game that I really enjoyed. So let's go.
Unfolded and how the storm grew.
Oh dear. Let's try that again.
So many people experience the fear of water in some form, swimming in massive bodies of water that have no end, so deep that you can see the light struggling to cut the dark, the fear of being submerged or underwater with no way to get out, or maybe even the fear of the unknown. What exactly is that dark shape moving in the water just a few yards ahead of you? Is it nothing to worry about? Or will it be your end? Oblivion is no stranger to the horrors of water.
Oh yeah.
True, there isn't very much going on out in the random areas of the oceans or lakes, but there are some terrifying stories and locations that will have you rethinking underwater exploration.
Yeah, there's not really much going on due to the fact that Bethesda refuses to do anything fun, and the only time we ever get a fun game is when someone else makes it. Fallout New Vegas. That's the only good Fallout game we've had in a long time. Besides 3, but too bad it's freaking not even made by Bethesda themselves, and they're trying really hard to prove that they're better than everyone, when in fact, they suck.
Or traveling along the high seas, and maybe even creatures in the depths, lurking in the dark. When people in Bravil talk about the ghost by the bay, they don't lower their voices because they're scared. They do it because everyone already knows what story you're about to bring up. The Forlorn Watchman, a ghost who walks the shore every single night, staring across the Nibbin Bay like he's waiting for something. The town says he's been doing that for years, maybe longer. No one ever sees him during the day, just that old figure by the water, always looking out over the waves that took his life. The ghost was once Grantham Blakely, a Breton sailor who served aboard a small cargo ship called the Emma May. He wasn't some cursed noble or sorcerer, he was just a man loyal to his captain. During a violent storm, the crew mutinied. They turned on both the captain and Blakely, chaining him in the ship's hold while they tried to take control. But the Emma May didn't survive. The ship struck the rocks near the mouth of the Panther River and broke apart. Every man aboard drowned, and Blakely, still bound in the lower deck, went down with the ship. That part of the river is called the mouth of the Panther, where the Panther River empties into the Nibbin Bay. Sailors gave it that name because of the sharp rock formations jutting from the water that look like teeth. It's one of the most dangerous points along the bay, known for tearing apart ships that drift too close. When storms hit, the waves smash against those rocks and pull everything under. That's where Blakely's body ended up, trapped in the wreck, chained in darkness.
I've actually never come across this quest, and again, whenever I played Oblivion, I always kept getting lost, and then I got scared, and then I never did the level up system properly, so I had to, restart every time.
As the water rushed in. The Emma May is still there, resting near the river mouth,
So
half
weak.
submerged and broken open. It's filled with the ghosts of the drowned crew, and they don't drift peacefully. They attack anyone who enters, like they're still fighting to defend their ship. There's a logbook inside written before the wreck, describing how the mutiny unfolded and how the storm grew worse as they fought. When you move through the wreck, you hear the hull creaking and the faint rush of waves against the outside. It's damp and water-stained, the walls slick with algae. Spirits of the dead crew drift through the halls, and at the very bottom of the deck, you find a skeleton chained to a pillar. Of course, that's Blakely, the sailor who once stood with his captain against these mutineers. His spirit couldn't move on because his body was still locked in that ship. That's what makes this story different from most
I can't believe he said shit. Oh my god.
ghost tales in Oblivion. There's no spell gone wrong or cursed relic. It's the Bay and the mutineers that did it. The storm killed them and buried them. It kept them there. Blakely's ghost doesn't ask for revenge, he just wants freedom. When you first meet him at the shore, he says only a few words.
I was once the man known as Grantham Blakely. Look for me in the mouth of the panther. Please, release me.
That's the entire plea. After all this time, that's all he can say. When you finally free his remains, his ghost appears one last time and gives you a map to where he hid his treasure before his final voyage. The treasure is underwater near Black Dog Camp, between 4 rocks at the bottom of the river. But it's not about the reward, it's about finishing what he couldn't. You return to the same bay that destroyed his ship and bring an end to what was started. His spirit fades, but the wreck and the drowned crew stay behind, trapped beneath those waves, as they should. The mouth of the panther swallowed everything tied to him. You can release his spirit, but the water doesn't let go of what it takes. Each night, people in Breville still say they see him walking along the shore, staring out at the same place where the MMA sank. He might be checking that his ship is finally still, or maybe he's just bound to the bay that drowned him. Whatever the reason, the forlorn watchman continues to look across the Niben Bay, waiting. And that's the scary part behind it all. It isn't the wraiths or the treasure, it's the mutiny and what came after. It's the idea that water remembers, that it holds what it kills and it never gives back. The Niben Bay
That's actually incredibly... It's actually an incredibly dark way of seeing it, to be honest.
has swallowed more than ships. It keeps the dead too. And every night, one of them still watches.
Morning in Anvil starts with dockhands shouting over creaking wood and ropes straining against the tide. Down on the west dock sits a vessel that doesn't join in, the Serpent's Wake. It's tied off like any other ship, but people give it space. Dockhands keep their voices down as they pass. They work around it, not with it. The ship is back from Somerset Isle with a single purpose, and that purpose is the reason it won't rest. Verule owns the Serpent's Wake. She's Altmer, dressed well, but tired in a way that doesn't come from
I think I remember this quest line. I could be wrong. Let's
lack
continue.
of sleep. Her mother's crystal ball was supposed to be the proud thing that returned with the ship. Instead, the crew never left the decks again. Something happened on the water, and after that,
really?
nothing was simple. The sailors are still here, not living, not gone. They block the stairwells, drift through cabins, and make
Oh yeah, the ghost ship, quite literally. Interesting.
the lower levels a wall you can't pass. Verule stands on the deck and looks toward the hatch, because the item she asked for is below, and she can't bring herself to go down there alone. The ship's story isn't complicated. It sailed to the Somerset Isles to collect a family heirloom, then turned for Cyrodiil. On the return voyage, the crew was led into a trap. A diary tied to a Dark Brotherhood plot explains what happened to them. It names a man called Matthew, who arranged their deaths before the ship reached Anvil. That part matters for a different story, but here on the dock, the only part that matters is the result. A full crew dead at sea, a ship that came home with no one living to claim it, a cargo that draws them back to the hold again and again. Anvil Harbor is busy. Nets and barrels line the pier. Sailors call to each other across the water. Verule's voice is steady as she explains what's below. Her words are simple. Her mother's crystal ball is in the hold, in a chest, and the sailors who carried it back are now the reason no one can reach it. You take the hatch down. The mid-deck is narrow, as if caught in a flood. Every angle shows that the voyage tilted and never truly leveled again. You can't walk past a bunk without thinking about a sailor trying to stand while the deck pitched and the hull groaned. The dead who move here are sailors first and phantoms second. They don't call your name or carry a message. They move with the same rhythm as the ship. They guard the way down because death caught them between one job and the next. A crew died, and the place where they died kept them. Past the hallway is the cargo hold. Crates are strapped in place by lines that still bite into wood. A second body is slumped against a crate with one hand outstretched towards a lower hatch. palm open in a simple reach that never made it. Around the corner is another shape slumped on a pile of boxes. The crystal ball is a mother's heirloom, carried across the Abyssian Sea and back to Cyrodiil. The sailors pulled lines and turned the wheel to deliver it, but they didn't make it. Now it waits in the same hold that became their tomb. Back on deck, anvil sounds return, but softer over the timbers of the ship. Furryvtuber isn't a villain. She trusts you with a key and a simple request because she can't change what happened out at sea. When she takes the crystal ball back into her hands, her shoulders loosen for the first time. By the time the sun sets, lanterns along the dock light up, and fishermen head home with their nets. The serpent's wake glows the same as the others, but it isn't part of the evening scene. The tide keeps tapping the hull. Furryvtuber stands by the rail, crystal ball in hand, and looks down toward the hatch again. She has what she asked for and still doesn't step below. A voyage ended with the full crew dead, and the ship they served carried that end back into Anvil.
Wei sits in the shadow of the Imperial City, between the shore and the bridge.
Gone
The water
fishing? I think I remember that quest. Is that the one where there's the old man and he wants to get a bunch of slaughterfish scales?
is calm, but it's a calm that doesn't comfort everyone. To most people, Lake Rumer looks peaceful, a place for trade boats and lazy fishermen. He used to fish there every morning. The lake fed him for years, and he thought he understood it better than anyone. Then something went wrong. Aelwyn says it started with shapes he didn't recognize, dark ripples that stayed after he pulled in his nets. One morning, he leaned too far over the side of his boat and saw the water move back towards him. Not a wave, but something alive that pressed against the hull, scraped it and then rolled away without sound, and it left a scar across the wood like a deep cut. After that day, Aelwyn stopped going out, and his leg never healed right. He doesn't talk much about the day it happened. He says he was pulling in a net when something hit the side of his boat hard enough to throw him overboard. He remembers the teeth and scales and the sharp crack of the wood breaking. When he woke up, he was already drifting back to shore with one leg torn open. He tells anyone who will listen that the fish in Rumer changed. He calls them slaughterfish, but not the kind people hear about near the coast. These are heavier, their scales thicker, their mouths jagged in a way that doesn't match what he caught before. And he swears they follow boats too close, circling them like they're waiting for a mistake. The man spends his days sitting near the water he used to work, trying to finish one last task before he stops for good. He wants 12 scales from those same fish, the ones that ruined his leg. He says they're worth more than most people think. There's a buyer in the city, a young alchemist who will pay enough to keep him comfortable for the rest of his life. He can't swim for them himself. He's too old and he's seen what the lake can do, so he asks if someone else will go in. From the bridge, the lake looks glass flat, but if you stand there long enough, the reflection starts to move wrong. Waves that don't match the wind and shapes passing under the shadow of the arches. Lake Rumer looks wide open, but once you're under, it changes fast. The sunlight fades almost at once. The silt turns thick and every small movement stirs it up like smoke. Aelwyn wasn't wrong about the fish. They move differently. They're fast. They lunge, holding their place with sharp turns. Each one has...
Wait, is that what the freaking slaughterfish looked like in the remake? Holy crap, they got an upgrade. Jesus Christ.
Scales that glint like wet glass and jaws strong enough to bite through a paddle. The closer you get to the center of the lake, the worse it gets. The pressure builds and the light drops to a faint green. The city's reflection above you starts to warp until it's just a blur. The noise of the surface disappears, and it's hard to tell which way is up. There's movement down there, more than there should be. Shapes that drift in the haze and vanish when you turn towards them. It doesn't take much imagination to think about what could live under the bridge supports or in the cracks of the lake bed. And the same water that surrounds the city and runs under its bridges runs through here, and not everything that enters comes back out. Sailors talk about a place near Bravil where a giant version of the same fish lives, something that never stopped growing. Aelwyn says it's all the same water anyway. The rivers and the bay feed the lake, and if one monster can live there, another can live here. When the scales are finally gathered, Aelwyn takes them carefully. He doesn't look proud, he just looks relieved. The way he talks about it, you can tell he's been waiting for the lake to stop asking for him to come back. He pays with a small ring, something he calls the Jewel of Rumer. It's supposed to help you move better in the water, breathe longer. Maybe it does, or maybe it's his way of passing on what he couldn't face anymore. The ring's magic doesn't matter as much as what it represents. A farewell to the lake that nearly took him. Aelwyn doesn't go near the water after that. He sits by his home and watches other people cross the bridge, heading toward the Imperial City. They don't think about what's beneath them or how deep the water goes before the bottom. For them, the lake is just a view, but for him, it's a nightmare that keeps calling. He warns the fish will keep growing, that the lake feeds them something it shouldn't, and maybe he's right. He says the lake will take someone else next, maybe a swimmer, maybe a boat that drifts too far. The water doesn't care who it chooses, only that it's fed.
I'm looking forward to my retirement. Long days in the stable with the horses, long mornings in bed, and best of all, no more fish.
South of Leowin, where the marsh gives way to the coast, there's a stretch of shore that no one fishes anymore. The surface there rises and falls slowly. People say the light bends wrong near the rocks, and that if you stay long enough, something stares back from below, and that's where it waits. The entrance is located southeast of Leowin on the Tobel coast. Long before anyone found it, the cave was just another flooded break in the coast. Trolls kept it to themselves, nesting in the wet tunnels and dragging animals down into the dark. But that changed when something divine sank inside. When the Eye of Nocturnal was stolen from her shrine, the thieves
that quest. Oh, that was such an interesting
carried
one.
it here, hiding it in the deepest pool they could reach. The moment it touched the water, the cave changed. It said the eye never closed, even underwater. It gleamed faintly through the murk, casting a pale shine across the rock. The creatures that guarded this place stopped leaving. They stayed close to the pools and didn't hunt on the surface again. The surface went still but heavy, and anyone who stepped inside could feel it press back against them, like something alive surrounded every step. The locals near Leowin don't talk much about Tidewater Cave. They know the city sits over rivers that drain into Topol Bay, and that the same waters run past that cave before spilling out to the sea. Inside, every tunnel leads to another pocket of deep water. The deeper you go, the more it feels like the cave is folding in on itself. The trolls there don't act like wild beasts. They move carefully, staying close to the pools and staring down at the water before they eat. People in town say that the thieves wouldn't have gotten far after what they did, but Weeben Na and Bijin still walk Leowin's streets, saying nothing about the cave. There's a story
Argonian designs are also kind of cool, but a little creepy.
that when the tide is low, you can see shadows moving across the entrance, even when no one's near. At the very end of the cave, past the last turn, the tunnel opens into a pit of water that drops straight down. There's a faint glow under it, gray and pulsing. That's where the eye rests. Who can say what the eye and the power of Nocturnal did to this place? But if you're afraid of the dark and the water, I would definitely recommend staying away from this place.
South of Lake Popid, past where the land dips into the Nibene Basin, sits a structure that the rain never leaves alone. It's called Nornal. To travelers, it looks like just another Ayleid shell. Arches split open, moss growing over white stone. But the closer you get, the more the ground sinks. The soil there stays wet year-round. Nornal sits over channels that never drain. The Ayleids who raised it carved through a natural spring, turning the halls below into canals of their own design. Those stone channels still run through the place, carrying a dark flow that never clears. Whatever lived down there before the halls were built was trapped inside. When the city fell, that current kept moving, and the dead moved with it. The Ayleid light still burns in places where no air should reach. It bends through the flood, warped and dim. The crystals shine against walls where carvings have worn away, and the color drifts across the ceiling in broken lines. Below that, the corridors bend into a maze of submerged passages. You can't tell where one pool ends and another begins. When the current moves, the color shifts across the ceiling like veins pulsing under the skin. Nornal isn't empty. Sometimes bones shift beneath the water. The dead there don't guard anything anymore. They just follow the flow. Undead drift in the deeper sections, skeletons and bones that have turned green from centuries underwater. They move slow as if the tide itself carries them. They rise up from below, their armor scraping against the stone. There's a part of the ruin called a Giesel, a long hall set with Ayleid light, and farther below, the passages drop away toward drowned rooms you can't see from the doorway. The deeper halls were said to be where the Ayleids stored their relics, but now they're drowned halls full of shadows. Most ruins around the Nibene Basin crumble from age or weather. Nornal keeps growing heavier. Each year, the waterline rises a little higher, flooding halls that were once dry. The structure doesn't...
Dude, that's kind of sad, like that kind of situation where a building that once laid not dormant but stayed there for a long time just starts to get overrun by It's overrun by just water. It's really sad, but it makes sense. That's just life.
Doesn't fall apart, it sinks. Whatever magic was bound there when the Ayleids still prayed has turned inward, drawing everything back down into the deep. Travelers who pass near the lake at night say they can see the top of the halls glowing under the water, faint and shifting like it's still alive.
Under Castle Breville, there's a cavern that never dries out. People in town talk about secret work down there, doors that lead to rooms no one visits, and a maze that sinks lower with each turn. The higher tunnels will just barely get your boots wet. Keep going down and the floor drops away. This place becomes a flood first and a cave second. At the center of it all is a dark basin. It looks calm. Obviously nothing could be down here, right? The ripples move in strange patterns, like the depths are pulling in several directions at once. Something massive lives down there. Everyone who has stood on the ledge would tell you that. Things fall in or wash in. Some of it's junk, some are animals, sometimes it's what's left of a person who slipped a little too close to the edge. The current gives, then takes, and what doesn't escape drifts to the bottom and stays there. That is where this monster grew. Call it what you want, river beast, legend, but of course, it's the giant slaughterfish. You won't see it at first. You'll notice the current shift against your legs, and then a shadow out of the corner of your eye. The body's long and thick, scarred from years of scraping stone. Its head is wide and its eyes don't blink. They hang there, dull and steady, the way eyes do when they've never needed to adjust to the light. Down in the sill are the leftovers of what it's eaten. A bent shield half rotted in the seam, a broken oar, buckles, a dented helmet wedged under a rock. No one put those things there on purpose. The beast did. It lunges and bites, and whatever goes down stays there. People say the creature
Holy
knows the
crap, how big is that thing?
cavern better than anyone. It hangs out near the stone when you try to trace the wall, and you only learn the wall is ended when your hand meets nothing. The pit is a bowl, and the bowl keeps feeding it. The cavern also keeps remains from long ago, bones in the side pockets. Not laid out, just left where the tide dragged them. This is probably someone's worst nightmare. To find a pool of water in the depths of a long cave, watching from the surface, and knowing that the only way out is to swim through it. Of course you would be terrified. Who wouldn't be? But no one could truly know what to expect down there, and they definitely wouldn't expect this beast. If you did end up killing the creature, you would find all of the remains of those who suffered the same tragic decision, but they never made it out.
Why
You thought Oblivion only had one giant waterborne creature. Well, you'd be wrong. Greenmead Cave sits off the Gold Road between Skingrad and the Imperial City. The cave mouth doesn't look like much, just another shadow in the hillside. But what waits for you inside is a very unique monster. Spriggans and will-o'-the-wisp drift between the cracks in the walls. Minotaurs have been seen wandering in from the woods, drawn to the moisture or the strange hum in the stone. But they don't last long. Their remains sit piled in the mud, surrounded by broken shells. Some say the tunnels connect to the old Ayleid ruin of Seatatar, part of an underground water system that never fully drained. Pools fill most of the tunnels. Some are shallow, but others drop into the black depths. At the back of the cavern, a wide pool stretches under the rock. Bones are scattered around the edge, tangled with scraps of armor and wood. In the middle stands a shape that looks like it's part of the caves or the mud, maybe a rock even. That is, until it moves. This is the giant mud crab. Mud crabs are of course a joke across Cyrodiil. They're small and noisy, but this one grew huge after years of feeding on anything that slipped into the water.
Okay, if I ever play the Oblivion remake, I want to find this giant mud crab. It looks amazing.
Shell looks like a wet rock, rigid and covered in moss. And instead of charging, the crab drags itself forward in slow, careful pulls, staying just under the surface until it's ready to strike. It waits until you're close enough to see yourself in those eyes before lunging. One motion, all power. Its claws crush anything in reach, and whatever sinks becomes part of the pile. No one knows how long it's been here. The cave must give it everything it needs, cover and endless depths to hide in. Greenmead Cave won't be remembered for its treasures or ruins. It'll be remembered because of the giant mud crab still down there, waiting for its next meal, growing bigger every day, and maybe one day it'll crawl out. It'll get too big for the tunnels down there. It'll crawl to the ocean, a limitless harvest, and it might get so big that people will tell stories of a massive kraken-like beast with claws the size of ships.
That's horrifying. Like, legitimately, a crab that size is horrifying. But I'm also kind of wondering if it would be delicious. Like, legitimately, I'm kind of curious if it would be delicious. I've never had crab before, so I don't know.
What other water-related stories or locations in Oblivion do you think we should cover in the future? It's pretty barren for most of it, if we're being honest, but there really is some good stuff here and there. We appreciate all of you watching, and we'll see you in the next.
Alrighty, guys, if you like this kind of content, please do let me know. If you want me to learn more about the Falmore, because I kind of know about the Falmore. If you guys kind of want that kind of content, do like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure to check out the Lore Vault. They kind of do some good stuff. I've only seen like 1 or 2 of their videos. This one kind of being the second one. They do some good stuff, but yeah. Like the kind of content, please do like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know, okay? Alright. Love you. Bye. Take care, guys. Stay safe. If you want to support me, Ko-Fi link. I kind of need to save up as much as I can for my birthday.